Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and it's a podcast called Chatting in Cars. It is basically me talking to myself. You don't have to listen to that. If you don't like swearing, I suggest you change the channel because I swear profusely, and if you don't like sensitive topics, I suggest don't listen. I mean, I'm not going to make you, am I? That's what the disclaimer is at the start of this podcast, so if you don't want to hear what I say, that's okay, I don't mind. So moving on. Anyway, the topic for today is glorifying poverty. It's going to take about 30 minutes to get to where my work is today, so it's going to be a short one, so I won't bore you for long. Anyway, it's Monday, I've had about 5 coffees, so here we go. Hopefully you can understand what I'm saying. Glorifying poverty. Now, okay, I grew up in an area, of course, where there was poverty, a lot of it. I've lived the poverty cycle, I've done the whole food banks, I've done homelessness in my later years. Couch surfing homelessness, not the true and authentic living on the streets though. Absolute credit to anyone who can survive that. If you can absolutely in any time help them, go and help them. It's not fun. The idea of it isn't funny. I don't like celebrities who, I'm going to be homeless for a day to see what it feels like. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Don't take the piss. It's like, I just want to see what it is and then I'll go back to my mansion. It's like, fuck you, guy. But, homelessness is not funny. And it does come with a poverty cycle. Sorry, my stutter's kicking in already. Poverty cycle. Growing up I had both parents. If you listen to the other podcasts, you'll know that my dad had Peter Pan syndrome, so he doesn't want to grow up, and so he's in and out of work, blah, blah, blah. And my mum was meant to be a stay-at-home mum, look after 4 kids. They got sucked into a mortgage they couldn't really afford. Because my dad wasn't working, my mum wasn't working either. We sat on the welfare line essentially from about my age 8 till about a good 10 years, 18, yeah. And then I moved out at 19. In and out of poverty myself, in and out of welfare lines myself as a student, if not, with COVID lockdowns and things like that. So I know the environment of what it is to be on the welfare line. It sucks. It is not something to be glorified at all. The thing is, it's like you've got people that are trying to ennoble it. It's no, don't ennoble it. Having lived it, no, it's not fun. It's almost like when, the Americans look back at the indigenous cultures of America. They say the noble savage is like, we're not going to ennoble this. It's patronizing. Let's be realistic with what they were going through. And realistic with what people in poverty are going through, not try and, hallmark the shit out of this. Let's look at this realistically. It's absurd to say that it would be okay to go into poverty. It's a horrible experience. No one enjoys it. It's not something to pursue. I know we've got some people just sitting on the welfare system who assume it's like a second income. They're not only sitting on the welfare. Chances are they've probably got a side hustle they're just not declaring as their income stream. That was pretty prevalent when I was sitting on the welfare stream, You've got a bunch of people I went to high school with used to sell drugs on the side, or at uni, Not my friends, obviously, but I knew of them. And they'd have that as sort of like you'd get all the bonuses of a healthcare card and stuff like that while sitting on Centrelink. But their real income, or whatever they could get out of it really, was selling weed and stuff like that. And you sit there and think, that's not a lifestyle that you would want to promote, considering the dangers of it. So you're introducing dangers into your life just to say you can do this job or pursue this. There's always an element of danger involved with this, having to sit around that kind of financial situation. It's not a case of I've got a stable job, I've got a clean and functioning home, I'm okay, and I don't have to worry about anything. I can go to the shops, just buy groceries, not have to worry. There is also always a mindset that you might not have enough, or you'll have to make do, or you have to go without, or you have to, you lend off someone or cash something in. I've had to go to cash converters a few times just to change stuff up. You go take in an old heater or something, an aircon or something like that, and you go and get the money so you can pay your electric bill. Ironically, I don't know, hypocritically, I don't know. But it's absurd to people who lived it. If someone turns around and says, oh, aren't you brave, you're doing this, you're doing that, and aren't you strong and tough, and it's like that toughness is a trap. because people will ride it out. They'll say, oh, it's fine that you're doing this to me, that I won't bother reaching for anything else, because it just proves that I'm tough if I can keep doing this. And it's bullshit. No one should have to do that. It's all right to be tough, but don't sit in it. Don't assume it's the only thing you've got. I always say that education is the only means, well, not the only means, but is the major means of getting out of poverty cycles and horrible situations like that. I mean, if I hadn't got my teaching degree, for example, which is a very basic degree, I don't think it takes a hell of a lot of work to put in to get one, to be honest. I mean, people used to just teach without fucking degrees. It's only a relatively recent thing that people bothered getting uni degrees to do it. Used to go to a college of teaching. Before that, it was just whoever was the smartest guy in the room. It's like, do you want to be a teacher? Yeah, right, you teach this. I've got no experience with this. Yeah, but you're pretty smart. It's like, it was ridiculous. What you used to call the old boys. It was just the oldest or the highest up in the social rank would be the teacher or the headmaster. You're like, do you have any skill set? So it's only like, it's a very basic degree, and if I hadn't got it, if I hadn't stuck to it, I would still be on the welfare cycle, or I'd have a very low paying job. I wouldn't have access to a good apartment. At the moment, it's not a fantastic apartment. It is okay. It is really nice. It's the nicest one I've ever had, but I'm not entirely happy with the way they are providing it. But that's landlord issues. That's not a case of the facilities aren't great. I feel with regards, even though I'm renting, which also is prominent in the poverty cycle, if you have property, it's usually someone else's you've borrowed, and you're paying their mortgage essentially. At the moment, I know that if I got a mortgage right now, the payback for a $350,000 mortgage would be about $585 a week. I'm currently going to be paying, as of next Monday, $535. So I'm pretty much paying someone's mortgage at this point, just to say I have this apartment to use currently, which is a transition grey zone at the moment, because I know I'm aiming to get my own apartment. I'd rather pay my own mortgage than someone else's. But a lot of people don't have that access or that opportunity to actually pay for their own apartment, because they're just so sunk into the cycle that they're just living day to day, trying to survive. Whatever money they get, as soon as they get it, goes into something else. And I will say there are some people that self-sabotage their own income because they've developed things like drinking habits or smoking habits or drug habits, and you sit there and think, all this you're wasting on this, you could be, providing yourself stability. But when you're in that mindset where you're so stressed and just trying to survive, priorities are, I will deal with the immediate. Fuck the long term at the point. I'm just trying to survive. So I am well aware that poverty mindset can actually drag you down. They don't see the fact that, if I put this down now, because at the moment they're just dealing with their emotional issues. It's band-aid solutions to problems which needs to be dealt with, but they haven't got the strength or, the fortitude at that point, or the energy just to deal with that shit in a productive way. So they band-aid it, or they cover it up and medicate it. There's a lot of different ways of doing that. Not really constructive and long term, but it's all sucked into the mental health of the situation. People suffering, they just need something to take the edge off the pain now, which is often numbing. The long-term solution to that would be deal with the pain, if you possibly can. Deal with the pain for longer, take that money and put it into something that will fix the core problem. Like if you're facing homelessness and you're medicating, somehow you're getting money and you're medicating with drugs while being homeless, if you'd save that money instead, bearing in mind these guys go through a hell of a lot more shit than we understand. They get robbed while they are homeless, so as soon as you get something, it's gone. All kinds of stuff like that, it just doesn't make sense. You've got people who are homeless and people taking their shoes and shit, and you're sitting there going, the basic stuff that we just take for granted, they're getting robbed of. They got nothing already, and they're getting robbed again, and you sit there and think, this is fucking horrible. This is why I'm feeling for these people. I'm going, are you serious? But it's ridiculous. But just if you could long-term, or at least semi-long-term, the solution. That's the problem. Most of the time when we think of things like homelessness, we want to give them a leg up, but it's not really a permanent solution. You want to give them a meal, but you can't, give them access to ongoing, constant food because you just can't afford it yourself, or because there's just no facilities to enable it, or things like that. You want to give them housing, but no one's got space or money to buy a house. It's like, I want to help you, but I haven't got anything to give. And if I don't, use my stuff for myself, I'm not going to have anything myself. So that's the main problem in the poverty cycle. It's like people want to give and help, but at the same time, if you're sitting in the poverty cycle yourself, You can't. You've got no means to it. It's why I get pissed off with celebrities and stuff like that do, PR stunts, taking pictures of working in food banks and shit like that. I'm sitting there going, we know there's a problem, jackass. We live in it. We're just building awareness. It's like, we know. How about you give some fucking money? Don't be a greedy arsehole. So it's nice that you're doing the Band-Aid solution and looking good while you do it, but how about you actually fix the fucking problem? No, I need all this money because otherwise I'll lose my position as millionaire or some shit like that. And you sit there going, you bastard. You're just a bastard. I get pissed off with that. If anyone ever gets money, they should be helping people. And I mean helping, not just making it look good while they're doing it. Oh, they give me the shits. They really do. And I've got several people in mind when I see that, because I'm following a few people online. I'm sitting there going, oh, let's see what they get up to. I mean, they've been given this platform to say something or do something. They've been given all these resources. Let's see what they do. I want to see how they function. But most of it's PR stunts directed by someone else who's got a good idea, and they say, well, that will make you look good and we can hold a position, we all get paid, right? Do you actually believe it? Nope. Oh, do you actually give a shit? Not really. Because they go back to their fucking mansions. It's like in the World War II, right? When the East End got bombed. This is my people, the Cockneys. Or at least for one generation, my people are Cockneys. Before that, we're all Irish. But at the time, we were in the East End. We're in the Isle of Dogs. Got bombed to fuckery. It was Mile End, and it was just, everything was gone. And what you had was the royal family come down. And they're like, oh, isn't this terrible? At least we can look them in the face. And you sit there and think, can we have some money to rebuild? No. But this is terrible, isn't it? Back to our mansions. You sit there and think, you fuckers. But at the time, all the people were like, isn't it wonderful that they're here? I'm sitting there going, why are we deifying these fuckers? It's insane. It's like they're not actually helping. They just want them to look like they're helping. That's why I get pissed off with celebrities and people in high positions of power and money and things like that. They're not actually helping. They just want to make it look like they're helping because it makes them look good. And if they look good, they hold their position in the social hierarchy. It's ridiculous. People see the good deeds, or so-called good deeds, the pre-constructed good deeds, and say, aren't they lovely? Aren't they, close to God, or whatever it is, the divine, what do they call it with this royal people? It's the divine will of kings or some shit. Kings by divine rule or some shit like that. I'm sitting there thinking, if you were really replicating what the divine rule is, you would be helping people like fucking Jesus did, you idiot. So you wouldn't be sitting there going, can you imagine Jesus sitting there feeding the fish to people? It's a metaphor, it's a story. He was a really nice guy, he had the right message. I'm not saying he literally turned 2 fish into 1 billion. I'm saying he probably found a way around that. It's a metaphor. But at the same time, can you imagine him saying, I got 2 fish, I can make it into millions? Looking at the starving people and saying, oh, this is sad. I'm taking my fish and fucking off. It's like, no, you arsehole. But if I don't keep all my fish, then I won't be Jesus. You sit there and think, no, that's not what you were given fish for. You're there to feed people. What are you doing? It's like, but they're my fish. Yes, but eventually they'll go off, won't they? But I need all my fish. You're going to get smacked. You're going to get that giant Monty Python foot come out of the sky and just squish you. You're not going to get it, are you? And it backfires as well. Because you can't hold on to that much wealth and it not become a toxic thing. It's not there to be hoarded. It's there to be used to help people. And that's given. If all it does is breed toxicity. It breeds drug habits and corruption of power, and everyone's motive goes out the window because you're sitting there trying to hold on to this stuff that you're supposed to fucking hold on to in the first place. And it gives you the shit. You're sitting there thinking there's so much good you could be doing if you weren't so far up your fucking arse that trying to make yourself look good on camera, which is temporary, to be honest, in a sense of the great scale of things. And you've got so many people suffering, it gives you the shit. It really does. The greed of it, the selfishness of it. Every time I see a celebrity getting snapped, doing a PR stunt, working a food bank, visiting a homeless shelter, I'm sitting there going, all you're doing is emphasising how much of a selfish arsehole you are. Because I want to give the appearance of it without actually helping. And you can throw money at it, but if you don't direct where the money's going, it's just funding someone else's fucking pocket. It's like when you got all those kids in, when they say like donate to the Somali famine or whatever it is. Nobody knows where that money's going. Unless you directly go there and give the people food, you won't know where that's going. It's like you assume it's going to the right spot. You assume it's not going to get accumulated in some rich dude's pocket. I would rather see hands-on approaches to fixing problems than just throw money at it and hopefully it'll work. You know, everyone's busy, I know, but at the same time, it's like, you don't know if it's going to work unless you actively get out there and put your fucking hands to graft, you know? It doesn't make sense to lip service your way into fixing problems like that. It's okay, it'll be fine, someone else will fix it. No one's going to fucking fix it. You need to get out there and fix it. Can you imagine a mechanic sitting there going, the car's fucked? If I pray, if I thoughts and prayer this, it'll go away, wouldn't it? That red light in your gas engine light, it'll just fuck off, right? No, he always puts hands in and goes and gets it and does it, and you know, that's what's going to count in the end. No amount of taking a nice picture standing next to the car is going to fix the fucking problem. Sitting there kicking the tires and going, well, isn't this a shame? You know, it's ridiculous. Get in there and stop fucking around. I can't believe it. Oh. But this is what the rich people have. They're so separate from the reality of what people or humans are on the whole. Because they're so cushioned. They've never had to deal with poverty. They've never had to, you know, make ends meet or have to sell off their shit just to pay for the electric bill or keep a roof over their head. They've never had to dig through bins for fucking cans or food or shit like that. They've never been on that end of it. They've got no grasp of what it is, even though they're like, well, my mum took me to a food bank or a homeless shelter every couple of weeks. It's like, who fucking cared? Did you help? Did you fix the problem on the whole? Or are you just sitting here doing the same fucking steps, not going into any kind of depth for the problem to fix it, and you're just taking a picture of it? It gives you the shit. It really does. Because they're not progressing. I mean, for example, Diana used to take Will down to the homeless shelter. What do they call it? Because I've been following it for a while. Oh God, I know the name of it. I'm sorry, I've forgotten it, but you know, I'm that fucking caffeinated right now. But it wasn't a case of, look at this, right, let's go home. It was a case of, I want you to get involved in this. Center corner? Oh my God, it's gonna give me the shits. I should know this. Center stop. Something like that, I don't know. I'm terrible. I've got shit memory. Anyway, but it wasn't just a case of, do what your dad does, take a picture and isn't that sad and keep going. You were supposed to actively get in there and fix this problem, not just take pictures. No, this was your job. You know, your mum set you a job. She's going, I can't do this right now because I'm under your dad's thumb. You need to get in there and do this. You've got your own free will and your own money, and you've got, what's he got, like Cornwall now? He's got all the money in Cornwall estates and shit like that. The Principality, or whatever it is, I don't know. These people get free money for existing. Bugs the fuck out of me. It's Centrelink, but on a hyped up scale. But, you know, you get the chance to actually help. Whereas with Centrelink, you get barely enough to fucking survive. I've done it before. After getting, you know, it's so weird. After having a mortgage and then renting and then realizing how little you used to survive on and having to look at it again and try and make ends meet with the bigger bills, but different circumstances and such a little amount, it's crazy. You're sitting there going, I don't know how I used to survive on this. I really don't. As a student, what the fuck was I doing? You know, what was I living on? I was living on air. But again, these salaries are given the chances, the opportunities, the stage. You're given all the resources. What are you doing with it? I'm making myself look good. What the fuck? No. And then you get the idiots that sit in the poverty cycle who are ennobling it from the inside. They're sitting there going, aren't we tough? This is great. You know, like, we're grungy and we're tough and we're getting on with it. It's like, all right. You can, while you're in it, try to have that mentality because it will help propel you forward. But at the same time, you don't sit in it. You always should be trying to get out of the horrible experience and help others get out. It's not a nice thing. You don't sit there and go, wow, this is it and this is all we're going to stick for, and oh, aren't we tough and great for sticking it out? It's like, that's what the rich people want you to do. Because it means they get to stay at the top and not have to help. If you're sitting there ennobling a shit experience, they're going to go, well, they actually like being poor. And then you know, don't encourage it. It's insane. People like, you know, it's like rich people don't feel they have to help because you are sitting there going, well, this is fine. This is not fucking fine. I'm bearing in mind, don't just sit on the welfare line with a, you know, cup out saying, I need your money. You need to actively get out and try and get your job and get your shit together. Fuckers sitting there going, this is fine, this is great. This is fine, this is us. It's like, no, I've been there, it sucks. It sucks on a scale that has such a ripple effect that it's just not worth staying on. It's not meant to be a lifestyle choice. It's meant to be a leg up so you can get out of the gutter and into something better, because you deserve better. Don't sit there on it and think it's a fucking stream of income, unless of course you're doing something completely fucking illegal and you've got a sub-streams of other income that you're just not declaring, you know. Don't even get me started on that. I would not recommend. You will get caught, and they'll fuck you for it. They love coming back for money. They are hesitant to give out money. Centrelink, you've got to justify why you exist. I know that much. I've done it a few times. I was like, why are you even asking us for money? Oh, I don't know, because I've paid tax and I'd like to live at some point. You know, I'd like to be in a house paying rent, even though I don't get to keep the money. They're hesitant to give it out. You've got to constantly justify why you need it, even though you've paid your taxes. But when they come calling for it, God help you, they will come calling for you. They'll be hell for leather looking for you. It's ridiculous. They don't want to help. They want to give the appearance of helping. If anything, the situations like Centrelink that people are relying on and are willing to be reliant on it because it seems like easy money, they're actually undermining your independence. And they don't give a fuck about you. I mean, think about the workhouses we used to have in the Victorian era. Actually, it was before the Victorian era. You used to have the workhouses and all kinds of shit like that. Houses of, oh Christ, they used to just be these attached to like the church and stuff like that. Things that were deemed godly good acts, charity, essentially trying to help people, were turned into factories for labour. It wasn't a case of we want to help these people because it's the right Christ-like thing to do. People profited of it. I was watching a program the other day about, all these girls, like I was watching one particular where it was Galway, because my family's from Galway. But it was, and I don't mean anything against the Catholic Church, but it was a case of broke girls who were Catholic getting pregnant and their babies were getting taken away and put into workhouses, essentially, well, not the babies, but while these girls were pregnant, because it was, as a Catholic, you're not allowed to get pregnant out of wedlock or whatever. Never mind the way you got pregnant, whether it was consensual or not. But the girls were put into these like workhouses of ill repute. It's like you've done the wrong thing, you've sinned, and therefore not only do you have to earn off your sin, we're going to take your baby away and adopt it to someone else because you can't keep hold of a sin baby. And I'm sitting there thinking, because this was where my people come from, I'm sitting there going, better not be my fucking family. It's like, what happened? And apparently there was like a baby graveyard and stuff where they're just like unnamed baby pits, essentially, where they just chucked them in because they couldn't be bothered giving them proper burial and stuff like that. It was a huge, horrible documentary, and I don't know why I watched it because I cried the entire fucking time. It was horrible. I don't like that shit. I don't know why I watch it. But at the same time, it's like shit like that is covered up because it's just deemed normal in the poverty cycle. You shouldn't be okay with things like that. It was always girls that were, broke or, and they assumed that they were hookers or something like that. It's like, you're just on the game because you needed the money. It's like, well, that is part of the poverty cycle. Some people do have to do these horrible things to make ends meet, but at the same time, you still should be working to get out of these horrible experiences. Because it's not a nice experience. Imagine if you're pregnant by rape or something like that, and you've just been sent into this fucking workhouse to earn off. So you're already, 9 months pregnant, you turn up, and they were having baby births without anesthetic or whatever numbing stuff is. And I'm sitting there going, fuck that for a start. And then you got to, 2 days later or something like that, they were making them work. I'm sitting going, first of all, you can barely walk. Why are you working? It's like, just lay down for a bit. And this is in a time when everything was dirty and cleaning the babies and the high mortality rate and stuff like that. I'm sitting there going, fucking hell, this is some tough shit. This is, if you ever need to see the value of what your ancestors have come through, look at these experiences. Because you ever have an off day where you go, I feel a bit shit, go back and look at what your people have done and what they've survived. And you hand the fuck up and get on with it, really, isn't it? But it's horrible. And there's no way in hell you could glorify that and say, oh, isn't this lovely, we're tough and we'll keep going. It's like, no, fuck you. Get out of the squalor, get out of it. And, I don't want that for anyone. It seems insane to say this is okay. It's like being repeatedly punched in the face on a daily basis and saying this is okay because this is reality. It's like, no, we can fix this, providing someone stops being a greedy fuck. We can fix this. This is a very easy problem to fix. and no one wants to do it because they might lose social status. Although you've got people like the Rothschilds and stuff like that did a lot of good work, I've noticed. But the era of the philanthropist that just wants to help people, where is it now? I mean, they don't give a fuck unless they can get something out of it at this point. And that's something that's changed over time. It's like with less, you know, I say religious belief forming, you know, the morals of the people. Now, you know, with the 80s greed and stuff like that, people just seem to be out to get what they can get. And if it doesn't help them, they don't care anymore. They don't want to know. It's like, what can I get out of this? I don't want to know how many backhand deals have been done higher up in executive positions that only occurred, you know, just to make someone look good and so we can get something out of it. I mean, resulting in how many people getting fucked over, you know? It's okay because we got out clean, you know? That gives me the shits. It's like you were given these tools for growth and transformation. Money is a tool. It's not the root of all evil. It is a device for change. Same as education. Same as healthcare. It is a device for change. It is a tool. You're supposed to be using it to make the human race better. But they're not. They're just hoarding it because they're greedy shits. So insecure in their own sense of identity that they feel that they have to, you know, hoard all this shit to give themselves values. You don't see yourself as human anymore. You're just a commodity as part of your own wealth to be traded. It's ridiculous. If you can be bought with a certain amount, well, we all know what that makes you. You know? Even billionaires are sitting there doing trade deals. At some point, you're going to sell yourself and your morals and your judgments for a certain amount, and you're going to wish you fucking hadn't. And that's just the human condition. That's not a case of any particular social structure you happen to be born into. That's the conscience kicking in saying, ooh, we fucked up. I'm not going to do that. I mean, most people who have never had money and stuff like that, you've got, on the one hand, they might be more susceptible to crime because it's a means to an end in a Machiavellian term, right? The ends justifies the means. That's not exactly the direct quote from Machiavelli, if you're wondering. You might want to read the book, The Prince. I can't get the words right. My brain's fried. But, you know, they can justify their crimes because their crimes exist simply to exist. I mean, if you're looking at Thomas More, it's like, what they were saying? We create criminals and then we punish them for existing, or something like that. It's like you made them go to this because they were given no other alternative but to do this to survive. I mean, some people ride that out saying, well, it's not my fault, and they'll avoid accountability. But at the same time, a large chunk of people are existing in poverty, doing illegal things because they haven't got the resources because some rich asshole is hoarding them to say that they look nice socially. You know, it's like the distribution of wealth, for example, is just not good and not healthy in any kind of way. If you consider how far crime would drop, just things like petty theft, stuff like that. People are stealing just to buy food. Shoplifters buying just to, even if you're fencing it, they're stealing food just to sell on so they can make their rent, or they can make, you know, stupid little things. But at the same time, it's like if you got rid of that, if people just had, and it's meant to be the universal wage thing or whatever it is, universal income, but it's not working. I don't know why it's not working. We need to look at that again. But their crime would drop. Problems would drop. Unless, of course, the problem is like they've got alcoholism or something like that and it leads to crime and violence. If you give an alcoholic more resources to enable that addiction, it's not going to bode well. But again, wouldn't there be like a threshold where they'd pass and just sort of self-annihilate? I don't know. I'm trying to think how social eugenics would work in that. At some point they would, you think social Darwinism. And you have to look at everything critically, as horrible as that sounds. You give an alcoholic who has already got a predisposition to want to harm themselves, enough money to permanently harm themselves in the way of, you know, what do they call it now? Unaliving themselves? That's ridiculous. Killing themselves, essentially. That's what alcoholism is, right? If you give them enough money to do that, wouldn't that drop? Oh my God, these are horrible thoughts, aren't they, for a Monday morning? But wouldn't that drop the average amount of alcoholics in the area? I mean, I don't know. It's a horrible, horrible way to look at it, isn't it? And there's always that like conspiracy where, you know, in America, they've introduced drugs into the ghettos to try and get rid of those guys. But now the drugs are like fentanyl and it's ridiculously high dosed drugs that will just wipe you out as soon as you take it. You know, I'm not sure if they're just trying to feed on, you know, eradicate the problem by poisoning it. If you think about it, I wouldn't be surprised. And oh, that's horrible, isn't it? It's a bit like the Hitler thing, isn't it? You know, structuralist versus intentionalist. That's the whole argument Hitler had was, I'm not a bad guy, but now I've got all these people and I don't know what to do with them. What he should have done is let them go. But he didn't want to face accountability for his actions. And so he started up the gas chambers and the work camps and things like that. That's the structuralist view of it, that he wasn't really as bad as he makes out to be. Intentionalist view of Hitler is saying this guy is pure fucking evil. He went out with the intention of hurting people and he didn't give a fuck. Even when his surrounding advisors said this is a bad idea, this is inhuman and shit like that, he went and overrid them and kept going. That's the intentionalist view. The structuralist view is he had an idea, it snowballed, and then he got stuck with a bunch of people that he couldn't get rid of, didn't want to take accountability of, and then started up ways of getting rid of them. There's two different mindsets towards that. Both of them are fucking disgusting. In a human term, not just in case of cultural, religious kind of way. You shouldn't be doing that to people in general. And he's not the only person in history that's done it. There's been tons of the fuckers. But some of them's been covered up. Some because they're in positions of power, and they're currently in positions of power. You sit there and think, oh shit, we haven't got rid of that problem. But, you know, it's the poverty-stricken people that get exploited like that. Even with Hitler, it wasn't just Jewish people that got attacked. It was homosexuals. It was anyone who wasn't of the same mindset as what Hitler wanted to make. It was disabled people. It was mentally, you know, challenged people, should we say. Anyone who was autistic like me would have got real fucked up. Just sent to the fucking camps or whatever. It's just slightly different. Get rid of her. You know, it's wanting to have a set uniform of what people should look like. And usually it's the lower base, poor ass, migrant kind of people, or the slightly different ones that don't quite fit into the middle to upper class that'll get fucked. If you're looking at the Russian social status at the moment, it's the oligarchs that got all the money, so they're controlling all the strings. Putin only exists while these fuckers exist, and when they start kicking back and saying you're wasting our fucking money, we're cutting funding, he's going to get fucked. And that's why he's, you know, trying to rope everyone else in as like an external country there. You know, you've got Belarus on pay, although Belarus is only on pay while the oligarchs exist. I keep saying it wrong, oligarchs. If they say this is a bad investment, I ain't fucking doing it. Or if they start getting affected by sanctions and things like that, it's like, they took my mega yacht, I'm pissed off, not helping you anymore. Then, you know, if they all turn around and say, we're not funding this shit, and fuck off, he's going to go under. There goes his boomer bucket list. You can't do it. Sorry, that was me getting too close to someone else's car. Did you hear the beeping? I don't know. But these fuckers only exist in positions of power while the structures around them enable it. You know, one of the biggest metaphors I've ever thought of is like, what is the most valuable piece on a chessboard? Everyone goes, oh, it's the king. Oh, it's the queen. The bishops, maybe. The pawns? Everyone wants to be, oh, look at the Marxist approach to chess. It's the pawns, the people power. Woohoo! It's not, it's the fucking board. Without the board existing, the whole fucking game is gone. It's gone. If you flip that board, the whole fucking game's gone. Whoever was winning at the time, it's like catching this golden snitch. It's fucked. It's like knowing to flip the fucking board. You know, it's people underestimate the power of the people right at the fucking bottom. Pawns are still employed. People right at the bottom saying, we're not doing this. We've got nothing to lose. The ones right at the bottom, no jobs, no money, no nothing, no titles. They flip that board, they are the board. They flip the board, game's off, isn't it? And I don't mean to do that in a horrible sense. I mean, look what happened when they fucking marched on Washington. What a fucking tit fest that was. But I'm sitting there saying, you could change the fucking game. Checkerboard looks like a chessboard to me. You could change the fucking game. You just got to change the fucking rules. Change the fucking game. You know, it's the same shit. And I'm not saying social uprising is the way forward, because honestly it's chaotic and it's costly and it does horrible things to a lot of people. I'm not saying that, but gradual change is probably the best way to do it. Don't sit there and sit in ennobled poverty saying this is it and I'm fine with this. You're not. No one ever is. It's a horrible, horrible experience. that's why we have things like democracy. In theory, democracy is meant to work. It's meant to be the mandate of the masses directing how they are governed, or how facilities are run, how their exterior exists. Instead, in a horrible way, it's corrupted because you've got some dickhead at the top, and it is fascism in a sense. Maybe he have a little squad just underneath him in the hierarchy, and they're like, in Russia's case, it's oligarchs, or whatever what are they called, Bolsheviks? Whatever the Bolsheviks became. I'm not exactly queued up on what their social structure is at the moment because it's so fucking shady. They say it's one thing. You've got China with its panel. You've got, like India with its... It used to be a Raj, now it's a panel of people again. It's always a panel. The idea is this panel works for the collective to understand, given as many voices as possible to represent the people, right? That's how Parliament should work. Instead, we've got Putin, or we've got, whoever controls the British government, or whoever controls, there's always one more person up at top who's sitting there going, well, this doesn't benefit me, so I'm not going to do it. You would really have to have a clean conscience and to be completely fucking selfless to benefit the people. And that means, and that's why they fund them. Look like the British royal family, right? They are funded by the state. They're there to bring in tourists, which is in itself a bit of money for the economy, which is good. But at the same time, do they have any ultimate power? And that's a question that's been going for fucking decades. At the moment, you've got King Charles. I will not call him king, to be honest. I don't feel he is operating within my realms of what a king actually is. But I'm old school, a noble king kind of thing. But again, that could have been a PR stunt because, history is written by the victors. But that's the thing. It's like you've got this one person on top. Does he have any real power? So if he says, all of my government is shit, I'm going to collapse it, which has happened before, and then to reinstate new ones, reform a new government, which has happened before with the other Charleses as well. I think it was the Charleses. I'm going to have to look into that. I'm not clued up on it entirely. So don't take my shit for gospel. But at the same time, they can collapse their own governments and say, this isn't working for me, I'll reform another one. And that's the problem. It's like, if your government, which should be working for the people in itself, doesn't represent what the king wants to happen, they'll just collapse and get rid of them and form a government which does fuel his endeavours. I'm sitting there going, why should you have absolute power in that sense? And that's why the Magna Carta was invented, because you've got a bunch of rich arseholes dictating what the rules should be, and it only seemed to benefit them. And that's how we ended up with Cromwell, who in turn did the same fucking thing himself. Funny enough. But it's, the first Charles was decapitated for that thing, the second Charles took it up, and now we've got a third Charles. So I'm sitting there thinking, you've been given another chance in your bloodline to prove that you're not a piece of shit. Are you going to use it properly? Or, he's done a lot of things I just don't agree with. And I'm sitting there going, you're not functioning as you should. But again, that's me coming from a grassroots, I've been sitting in poverty. I'm not entirely clued up on what's going on behind the wizard's curtain back up there. So you sit there and you hope that these people are doing the right thing as a representation of you, but at the same time, absolute power corrupts absolutely, so you don't want to let them have that leeway. But it's that's the problem as well. It's like as soon as you say, we need to start changing things, then you get nutters turning up saying, well, fuck it, I'm going and burning, looting stuff. You have peaceful protests for things like BLM and stuff like that, or, someone got shot or something like that, and so they had a peaceful protest as a sort of stand-in saying this is a problem, we need to fix it as a collective, and that's wonderful, I love that. But there's always some fuckhead in the crowd that wants to go around breaking shit, setting stuff on fire or something like that. It's like, you got the hotheads that are just there to use it as a vehicle to destroy things. So I'm not saying that is a good idea. As much as I have in myself a scorched earth policy when it comes to certain matters, like relationships, I don't have it when it comes to social structures, because I think they can be adapted from the inside. I think there's always a chance to sort of heal the problems. That's why it is. It's any kind of social structure is a working document. You should be able to tweak bits of it that aren't working. You take a part out, you put something else in. That's why we have so many fucking reforms and different policies and fucking amendments to constitutions and things like that. We take stuff out that doesn't work. The weird thing is when you've got a constitution, you've got a shitload of stuff that contradicts itself, like the old laws, like the English bylaws. It's a fascinating thing. Somebody built a new bridge a few months ago or something like that, and it was hanging at a wrong height or something like that. So now they have to hang a hay bale. And that law is from like fucking 1800s. I'm sitting there, why are we doing this? Why not just, I don't know, put a fluoro strip and a light or something? You know, it's, no, we got to do a hay bale. So things like that are still relevant, but why do we keep them around? I mean, at the moment, it's just fucking novelty. But it's irrelevant, and we need to go back through and filter out all these things that don't fucking work and reform them into ones that do. I'm not calling for an absolute destruction of any kind of social sphere to benefit those in poverty. What I am calling for is absolute reform, because you're looking at some things and going, this isn't working at all. That's not to say, you know, distribution of wealth should be, you know, more evenly. All right, so like I'm going off on a tangent. I'm going to go into work in a minute. But the theory for communism was that you had even distribution of wealth. Everybody had their own say. It was all even. People just did their jobs because it was their job, not because they got paid more or less or they had a better lifestyle or anything. Everyone got looked after. That was the even plane they were trying to create amongst the Marxist Engels thing. No one was supposed to own the means of operations or exploit them, and there was no classes or anything. Everyone was just sort of fucking even. Egalitarianism, right? That was his version of utopia. Now, I will do a podcast on utopia. Actually, I'm going to write that right down. I'll write that now, because I will forget. Everyone was supposed to have an even chance. It was meant to, you know, no one was supposed to be exploited because of what position in society they were born into. But at the same time, it's not working right now in Russia or China, which claims to be communist. Because you've got, you know, all the heads of, you know, oligarchs, which have got shit tons of money, which shouldn't fucking exist in a communist state, directing traffic. So you're sitting there like, what is going on? So you're not even living by your own principles. And then you got Putin, who's a fascist, who's exploiting the oligarchs, and they're enabling him, because they keep funding it, to run his own fucking agenda. I mean, they're assuming they're getting some kind of return on their investment because they're funding all these wars. Maybe they'll want oil in fucking, I don't know where. There's always oil, isn't it? Oil or gold reserves or some shit like that. If we give him more money, he'll give us back something. But in honesty, he's getting old. He's going to die soon. No one's there to back him up accurately. It's a shit investment. All your trade is global. Everyone's looking at, you know, the oligarchs or whatever, and going, I'm not doing business with these assholes. They're starting fights. This is unreliable, dishonorable, and you're not good business partners. Unstable business partners do not promote business. You will not fund your own wealth with shit trade relations. It's a very big gamble to assume that, you know, any kind of thing like whatever's going on with Putin or like that will actually give a return. It's a huge gamble. Because if it fails, you've fucked your entire existence. You've got no trade relations. You lost all your money funding a person who's got their own boomer bucket list of things they want to do because, you know, they didn't fulfill their dreams in the 80s. You know, it's like, I've had a chance of taking over the world, but I got old and married and had kids. It's like, well, maybe that was your chance and maybe you weren't supposed to. Okay? Now, the second time around, you're too old to fucking shit in the toilet because you're wearing adult nappies now and you're still trying to get this fucking dream done. It's like, dude, let it go. Let it go. Knowing when to let go is the important part. Now you just look silly because you won't fucking let go. Really, what he should have done is just gone on his usual annual fishing trip and let shit slide. It's like, just admit that things are changing. It's okay. You will be okay. You're not even going to be around long enough to fucking notice if it's gone bad, right? So you won't notice. You'll be happily medicated with the dementia. Just relax. But, you know, they won't let go. But ultimately, what was meant to be an egalitarian social structure, and it's the same with China and any other fucking communist country at this point, the idea is that we're all equal, and that's the flag that they drive the entire social structure in. It's not true. You've got a bunch of people hoarding all the wealth, exploiting the broke-ass people, and you've got the middle group that are just, you know, we know the shit's going on, but we don't want to acknowledge it because it would affect us, either through fear tactics and intimidation, like what's going on in Russia, or, you know, we might lose our own money and status. So for what is meant to be an egalitarian structure where everybody's the same, everybody works equally, everyone gets the same pay, it's still a fucking hierarchy. It's still feudalism. You've still got a guy at the top with all the money, he's directing all the land and movements, government administration, and it's fucked. No one has actually ever attained true communism. In a sense, in the most purest sense, no one has even come close. Because there's always some ego-driven asshole that'll stand up at the end saying, well, I'm taking over. Military coup, or, you know, coup de grace, or fuck the royals. So it's always something stupid like that. It's like, we've all got this arsehole in the crowd that's sitting there going, well, I'm better than everyone, so I'm directing traffic. It's like, well, are you though? Or are you just pushing your own agenda? It doesn't make sense. And it's usually based on some shit that they've had done to them when they were younger. Even Hitler was like, there was this ongoing theme that Hitler picked on Jewish people because he got kicked out of a Jewish art school or something like that, some stupid pettiness. And I think, honestly, it probably is rumour or gossip or some shit like that. There must have been something more. I mean, without reasonable, logical mind, you know, there must have been something more. It's such a small thing. But to some people, these small things, they'll fuel them into doing horrible, fucking horrible things to other people and just claim, oh, well, it's the natural order of things. It's not. You got some fucked up issues, dude. And you let it drive you into horrible situations affecting everyone. And don't even get me started on the karma of that shit. But again, what does it lead to? It's poverty cycles. It's people who are broke, uneducated often, who don't have more than that 30 centimeter vision, so they jump on bandwagons. And if you've listened to that podcast I did of belonging, the dangers of belonging, you get sucked into someone else's ideas. And if someone else with the money and the power and the stage say, I'm important, you should listen to me because I've got all these things, people tend to follow. And you sit there going, well, you're right, because you've got stuff that I don't have, like money and influence and power. But they only have the money and influence and power because we fucking enable them to have it. Don't glorify the idiots. It could be anyone in a crowd could take that fucking position as long as someone or enough people said, yeah, fuck it, he's right. You know, everybody is fucking equal. We are all fucking human. It's only because of the structures we enable and we enforce with our, you know, so-called values or traditions or shit like that that encourage tyrants like fucking Putin or stuff like that to exist. You know? If everyone in the world, he was in the chessboard people I'm talking about, not the pawns and all the shits with jobs and stuff like that. Like me, I'm a shit with job, I'm a pawn. I'm also a priest, weirdly enough, bishop or whatever it is. I'm a lot of things. Anyway, all the chessboard people turned around and said, well, I'm not funding this with my energy or my participation in the structure. If I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this today, I'm not encouraging this, I don't support this. There's more chessboard people than there are pawns. It would be complete tits up chaos. Not saying you should. I'm saying that's still going to fuck you in the end because we slash and burn our own surrounds in doing that. You'll have nothing at the end. Don't be stupid. What we need to do is we need to start either, if you want to keep the hierarchy in place, you need to start moving up the levels, which is possible. It's easier this day and age because, you know, you can transfer between levels at this point. You just got to, you know, put your ass in and dot your I's and stuff like that. You can do it. It's through education, it's through networking connections and all the right. You can transcend the orders. I don't know if you can get right to the top because there's some other weird shit going on up there. That's a depth of knowledge I don't know about because I never even looked. There's so much going on behind that fucking wizard's curtain that it's more than just a case of I've got the right qualifications for the job. I mean, for some reason, Trump got elected. I'm sitting there going, he's got no fucking qualifications. How the fuck did he get it? It's like, he's just got enough strings, hasn't he? He's got enough power and influence and enough dirt on someone that he managed to get that position. You sit there and think, this is fucked up. It is a corrupt system, obviously, but we're existing in it and we have no fucking choice. So what can we do with this? We can start changing things from the inside. And you can flood it with information of the, you know, supposed more relevant right way of doing things if you want. That's why everybody's afraid of things like wokeism. It seems a bit outlandish to not want to exploit people for money and stuff like that and just do the right thing because it is the right fucking thing. You know, people get surprised when it's like, well, why are you doing that? And you're not going to get anything out of it. You don't get paid for it. It's like, no, but it's the morally right thing to do. And I'm not talking about bandwagon jumpers that are, I'm marching BLM. You know the BLM thing where they created a whole movement which then just accumulated everybody else's money and turned it into like strippers and hookers and stuff. It's Candace Owens did a funny, amazing interview and research on that topic. What happened with the funds for the Black Lives Matter thing? Because at the start we were all like, oh, it's just like Martin Luther King. It's like, wonderful. We're going to help some people. It's going to be great. And that was the flag they were flying under. But in the end, what did you do with the money we gave you? What did you do? We went and bought houses and hookers and shit. And you go, what the fuck? How much of this actually helped the people in poverty that needed help? So, the people that were set upon because of, ethical, ethnic diversification, things like that. They were talking all about white privilege and stuff like that. I'm not going into it in depth because I literally need to be in my classroom in about 5 minutes. But at the same time, people who had the power over accumulating the wealth for this particular cause, they completely exploited their position. They didn't help people as much as they said they would. Maybe they did, but they didn't do it all the way. And it just lent itself to people being disbelieving of the movement. It's like, we can't support this because this particular representation of our movement, which is basic human rights, doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, it's basic human rights of existing. Freedom, safety, basic human rights. You know, it got exploited for wealth because someone higher up said, I can make money on this. And that's why I hate bandwagoning. I really do. Because someone always gets fucked in the end. And it's like, well, who doesn't get fucked and what's their motive for starting this? That's why you should always be looking at movements critically and saying, all right, who stands to benefit from this shit? And what are they going to do with it if they do benefit? Are they actually genuinely going to help someone, or are they just going to, hoard it? Money is not the root of all evil. It is often a vehicle for evil people to operate. And even then, evil is, relative to context and interpretation and narrative, isn't it? So it's, in particular trauma. Right, I'm going to have to leave it there. I'm just saying, if you ever get a chance to get out your puppy cycle, and you should constantly be fucking working to get out of it, it's a lot nicer and easier on the other side. And that sounds horrible for anyone who's sitting, couch surfing or sitting in a food bank right now going, I don't know if I got enough to get a fucking can of cornflakes or whatever it is. And I've done that before. It's fucked up. But you should always, as a human being seeking enlightenment and furtherment, you should be pushing yourself. Push yourself. It's okay. And it's going to hurt. All growth hurts. It's going to suck. You're going to hate this. You're going to get bitter. You're going to get angry. And anger is an amazing motivator. Used properly. Not just get angry, I'm going to break everything. That's destructive. You don't want that. Anger can be your biggest fuel for creating change. I mean, you look at, there's a majority of social movements that have been brought on by change. Make sure that what you're doing, the change you want to bring around, is a peaceful kind, a holistic kind, where nobody gets fucked over. That's what we should be aiming for. Not just the selfish kind where I just want to be better than everyone because I've got all this. You should be aiming for a healthy kind of way of promoting change. Not for updates and fucking PR stunts. Don't do that. It's twatty. Don't. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I've got to go and look after my kids. I hope you have a fantastic Monday. I'm going to try and do one on the way back. I don't know what about yet. I'm just picking them random. Have a good one, guys. I know it's Monday, but fuck it. We're alive still. All right, bye.